I've got to admit, I ended up scrapping the handle that I made in the last video for this guy. The original plan was to press fit, but as I was making the press fit, I realized that with the weight of this handle knocking on these brass balls, the press will eventually come off. So you saw in the last video, I tried doing some silver soldering or soldering to fix these balls, but I just couldn't get a really nice thin line of silver solder around there. And I tried a couple of times. I tried some TIG brazing, but it was just looking really messy. So I decided to stop, scrap it, and start again. Had an opportunity to try a better technique, making these handles. What I did for these guys is, well, I just took that big bit of steel that I'd already turned it down even smaller to the right diameter for these guys. Made some more of these brass knobs using the same technique that you saw in the last video. And but instead of doing a press fit, I did a screw fit. Well, I threaded them. These are 1032. These fit in there pretty nicely. And you know, these handles aren't going to have that same knocking action because of just the way they're used. But it's good proof of concept. And I think I'm now going to remake this handle, and that way I'll be able to live with it myself. I'll be happy that it won't just fall apart with use. But first I've got to make the second one of these guys. I've already done the shaft. Getting these balls made is actually pretty quick, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit more artistic than just plain old turning. But yeah, I'll get that done. I'll make the handle off camera, and then the last thing to do in terms of fabricating is the copper jaws. I'm going to try and work out how best to use this very expensive piece of copper here. I don't want to screw up, but I've got an idea. I'll make the jaws, I think, a little bit bigger than the original ones. I think that'll just look nicer. But yeah, I'll make those jaws, I'll make that handle, and we'll be done with fabricating stuff for this. Then it's going to be putting it together and doing the final touches on painting, and I'm excited to share with you my color scheme. All right, let's get to it. I just finished band sawing out these copper chunks, which are going to be the copper soft jaws for the vise. I don't know if it's that a bad craftsman always blames his tools, but I kind of wish I had a better band saw. I just had that Harbor Freight band saw, and no matter how much I tension it and tweak it, never seems to do a straight cut. I think I'd actually just prefer to have just a normal vertical band saw, and I could guide these things through up against like a rail, like you would with a wood bandsaw. The stand on that bandsaw is shot. I could probably turn it into a vertical bandsaw, but I don't know. Anyway, probably just blaming my tools. Anyway, so I've got these rough bandsaw cut blanks, and I'm going to try and square these off and shape them into something like a jaw. So I'm going to get some parallels, and I'll do that. I'm not going to be too precious with these jaws in terms of precision. As long as they look roughly right, I think that'll be good enough. And those parallels are too small. You probably can't see it on camera, but there's a little scribe line on there from where I wanted to keep on the bandsaw. So I think I'll just cut face down to that scribe line and lock my Z position, and I'll do the other one the same. And that'll get the top surface good. I really need to bolt this mill down to the ground, but I'm not 100% sure that this is where I want it to stay, so should at least shim it or something. Anyway, it'll be good enough for this. So a couple of things to point out about that cut. Firstly, you can see here and here where I finished this cut with a hacksaw because I just wasn't getting it on the bandsaw. The other thing is you can see the back side was cutting differently from the front side, which means that my head isn't trammed on this. I need to retram it. It's again one of the things I'm going to do once I've got this in its spot, but yeah, good enough for now. Means I'm also cutting probably a slight concave surface, but it doesn't matter. Not the greatest surface finish. I probably could have gone faster on the rotation of this guy, or slower on my travel, but good enough. Let's make the other one now match. Maybe this side will give you a better view for this second piece. Of course, it's less convenient for me, but better camera shot. No, tell you what, it's not much fun getting a hot bit of copper down your shoe. I'm wearing some pretty high boots, but got flung off just at the right angle. Yeah, it's not too bad. So those two are now the same height. Now we need to do the ends. I might gang them and do them at the same time. I don't want to be climb cutting that. I'm going to take probably a pretty aggressive bite. I can see my scribe line down here. There we go. Yes. All right, we're real close to my scribe line on this side. That's probably good enough. Let's flip them over. My goal here is just to get them to the same length. They don't need to be to a precise dimension. That second one is nearly cleaned up. I think another 10 thou and we're good. Beautiful. Just going to go hold these up on the vise itself and just see how they feel and look and see if these dimensions feel right. I think this looks pretty good. They're definitely not the same as the original jaws. I've made them bigger, so they're wider on the sides and they're slightly higher on the top. The idea there is that you'll probably remember how hard it was to extract these when they got stuck. This gives some more beating room to beat them off. That's a weird turn of phrase. To get them off if they ever got stuck. So they are taller and wider. They're also a fair bit thicker. I could trim them down, but it just feels like a lot of copper to waste, and I don't see any reason why you'd want them any shorter. Bigger, beefier, more wear surface. Yeah, make them bigger. On the topic of things that I don't see reasons why, the original vice jaws had locating pins that theoretically you could extract, but you remember I tried to weld on this one to get it out. One of the bores for the pin on this side is open, but on the dynamic jaw, the movable jaw, the pin is still stuck in there. I had to mill that surface to get it flush. I don't think I'm going to put these locating pins in these jaws. I'm just going to put 2 screws, and instead of using just slot head screws, I'm going to do socket cap screws. They'll be, I think, just a better fit for purpose. But I'm not going to have the pins. I did a lot of thinking as to why you need sort of locating pins on this, and I'm not very smart, and I haven't been able to work out why. And it reminds me of Chesterton's fence. So I've been calling these in my mind Chesterton pins. This is the idea that there's a fence that's in everyone's way, so you get rid of it without realizing the original purpose of the fence, and then you get overrun by animals or whatever the fence was holding back. So you should understand the purpose of something before you remove it. I really botched that story, but go Google Chesterton's fence. It's a principle that I am ignoring right now because I'm not going to make the pins. Anyway, all that's really left to do on these jaws is to drill the holes for the cap screws, countersink them so that they sit well back behind here. Then I might have a go at doing some sort of texturing on the surface, depending on how much time I want to spend on the mill. Just really for looks more than anything else. I think copper soft jaws don't really need a lot of texture, but it might just look cool and it might be a fun thing to practice. I'll see how I feel when I get to that point. But first thing I need to do is work out how to locate these holes. And I think I just might be able to use the jaws to transfer punch down where these go. Although if I do that, I'm not precise on the centering location of the jaw, then I want these jaws to be flush with each other on the sides. So I'll have a bit of a think and I'll work out a good way to locate those holes. I'll do that off camera and then bring you back when it's time to drill the holes out. It's looking pretty slick. So I think I worked out how to locate things. I took measurements and made a drawing. So the holes are 2 inches apart. They're centered, so they're 1 inch each from the center line. They're 1/4 inch diameter holes. They are halfway up, so 375 because this is 750. So I should be able to just use that drawing and the dimensions and how far I want to set back the socket head, all that stuff, to drill my holes and have it line up. So I hope this works out. Otherwise I'm wasting probably like 15, 20 bucks worth of copper. Anyway, got my part in there. I'll do some edge finding and boop, 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 put some holes in there. All right, X0. And I'm going to do that again just to check repeatability. All right, within 2/10. That's good. Because I didn't make this thing to any particular length, sort of roughly 3 1/4, I'll pick up the other end and then divide by 2 to find the middle, like the middle on the X direction, then I'll move an inch either side to find the hole locations, but I also need to pick up the Y height, because again, that's not made to a specific dimension. It's roughly 3 1/4, but I want it to be exactly 375 from the bottom, so I'll just pick up the bottom side, which is that side. Anyway, this should be clear once you see me do it. Boop. 3, 4, 7, 9. Let's do it again. No, 3, 4, 8, 0. Not very repeatable. Let's try it again. It's rushing. 3, 4, 8, 4, 2. Three, 4, 8, 4, 3. All right, that's good enough for me. So what I'll do now is do half of X, and now my X0 is on the middle line. But before I do that, I'm going to edge find this bottom height and come up 375 this way to get on my hole locations. Oops, 0. Alright, our Y is locked. And we can go to X0 just so we know where home is. So the other thing I'm going to do is I want to drill all of these oversized. That way there's some adjustment, which now explains why there's a locating pin. Duh. So much for my Chesterton's fence story. But anyway, I'm still not going to do the locating pin. So the holes are going to be for, let me show you. These are going to be 2 1/4-20. Come in a bit so you can see closer. 1/4-20 socket head cap screws. They are 1 inch long. They have a 1/4 inch head. I'm going to recess them 1/8 of an inch below the surface so that they don't interfere with the vise clamping process. So nominally a 1/4 inch hole, I'm going to go maybe a 1/16 above that, and drill these out. All right, so I've got a center drill in. First hole is X of -1 inch. So I was center drilling and it didn't look right. I was off being Mr. Fancy looking at my DRO and my drawing. I realized I forgot to take into account the diameter of the edge finder, which is 200 thou. So we need to go back 100 thou in this direction in Y to actually be on my number. So that would be 275 thou, not 375 thou. Oh well. Good thing I noticed that before I went too deep. Also helps if you tighten this. So I was saying that these are 1/4 and I was going to go a 1/16. I think I'm going to go a 9/32 rather than a 1/4. I can always open it up more if I need more adjustment room, but it should be okay. Sitting up. Wait, no, it's okay. Yes. I just hit my parallel and managed to dislocate my jaw, so to speak. Huh. I thought the parallel behind there was going to give me some clearance. I was wrong. I don't want to move things in the jaw because I've got everything zeroed. I'll just be more careful of my Z movement for the next one. Bye. All right, I think that's bottomed without hitting the parallel. You know what? I wasn't hitting the parallel. It was just breaking through that managed to pull this out. All right. Now the countersink for the head. It's really raining outside. The 3/8 drill bit took a bit of a beating recently. I'm going to give this a new grind. Nice new grind on here. I'm not going to show you my process of grinding because it's not very good, but hopefully it works. All right, we have not lost our DRO position. We don't have the Quill DRO working, and I want to go down 375. So I think what I'm going to do is use the ZDRO to do this drawing. One, go. Is that right? That's what the drawing said. I assume that's right. That grind did not sound so great. I shouldn't be showing off my grinding skills. That's it. That's it. Alrighty, so I've got my holes drilled for the screws. As I said, I was thinking about doing a texture on the surface. Don't know if you can see that. I have one of the offcuts in making this. I tried making like a 45-degree groove using a countersink bit. Clearly not the right geometry for this task, or maybe I was trying to take a too heavy bite or whatever. It wasn't. It just came out really shitty. So you know what? I want to see if this thing fits. It would suck if it didn't. And if it fits, I can see the holes. If it fits, I'm going to call a smooth jaw just perfect. Come on. All right, that screw is going in. Yeah, I think that one's going in too. All right. And it's sitting flush on the bottom, which is great. And yeah, nice. I probably didn't have to recess those as much as I did. I went 1/8 of an inch, but they're definitely not going to be marring the surface of whatever I'm clamping against. I'm going to do the same again for this jaw. You don't need to see that, but we are one step closer to getting this guy done. But anyway, so I'm going to remake this handle and give it a clean up, and this thing's going to be done. All right. It's looking pretty good.